Hello, and it is time once again for our weekly countdown of books you should pick up at your local comic book store. This is John Marcotte, the Heroic Dad for Heroic Girls. I'm here at Empire's Comics Vault, and let's take a look at the books that will be hitting store shelves tomorrow and that you should go find at your local comic shop. Alright, my first pick this week is Lois Lane, number 4. Lois Lane is a fantastic character. I've always loved her, and she's currently being written by one of my favorites, Greg Rucka. I don't know if you can make out that name there. Greg is a longtime comics writer. He specializes in writing tough as nails females. He wrote the graphic novel series Stumptown, which has been turned into a TV show on ABC right now. He wrote Whiteout, which was made into a god-awful movie that you absolutely shouldn't watch. And this is just a fantastic book. It's Lois standing on her own. She's purposely moved herself out of Metropolis to get away from Superman, not because she doesn't like him, but because she's trying to do investigative work and he's not sneaky. And it also is bringing back one of my favorite characters, Renee Montoya, who will show up in the Birds of Prey movie that we just saw the trailer for today. So, yeah, pick up Lois Lane number 4. We are kind of, a little bit into the story. If you wanted to back up and buy number 1 through 4, I wouldn't blame you because it's a great storyline. And next up, Marvel Comics 1001. This is, I guess, kind of a sequel to Marvel Comics 1000. Marvel is celebrating their 80th anniversary, as you can see there in the corner. And basically, the premise of these books has been that every page is a single story told about a different character with a different writer and artist team. There are, some repeats in here, but that's the concept. And there is a overall storyline being developed about this mask that was around in the early days of the Marvel Universe that may or may not have powers or abilities, or at the very least the ability to inspire people to perform heroics. And that mask shows up once or twice in here as well. But it's just a fun kind of overview, and it's great storytelling when it works well. When these one-page stories click, they click really well, and they tell great little stories. It does kind of, I think, work better for people who have this built-in comic book knowledge because they make a lot of obscure references and things like that. But even if you don't, again, it's like the ultimate sampler platter of appetizers because you get these little bite-sized stories featuring all these Marvel characters. Maybe you'll find a new one that inspires you to go pick up more books. There's that. This is one of my favorites. This is Ruby Falls. It is written by Ann Nocenti. It's the number 1 of 4, so unlike everything else I keep recommending to you guys, you can pick up the very first one here. And Ruby Falls is a mystery story. It's told in a small town where a woman decides to investigate a cold case. This girl that went missing years and years ago that her grandma had told her about, but no one wants to talk about what happened back then. I don't know if we're going to get into a supernatural area or if it's going to be some sort of conspiracy, science fiction. It could go almost any direction. But Ann Nocenti is a great, great writer. She's been around in the industry for forever. And this is the real reason I'm excited is because this is a Berger book. Karen Berger was an editor at DC, and she was the one who was responsible for creating Vertigo, which gave us The Sandman and Swamp Thing and Hellblazer, and every adult title that DC made in the 80s fell under Karen's imprint. And she's starting up again over at Dark Horse now, and Ruby Falls is working with another longtime great female creator. I have a really, really good feeling about this one. It's a detective mystery story at the moment. I'm not going to say more than that. I'll pretend that I know more than that. I don't. But I would highly recommend picking it up just on the pedigree of the writing and, strangely, of the editor. You don't hear a lot about comic book editors, but Karen Berger is probably the most famous one of all. All right, maybe Stanley. All right. Next is a man-eater's book, The Handbook for the Revolution. This one just killed me. It's obviously designed to look like a Little Golden book. It has this very Little Golden bookish looking illustration on the front. And it's not really a narrative comic in the traditional sense when you open it up. It has, instructions on, oh, look, here we have a tampon for you, and you learn to recognize clues and what to do. Here's diagrams on how to turn babies into radios, baby dolls into radios. Rope climbing for rescue ops, which turns into like ribbon or silks. They have a know the facts. When is it okay to call a cat? Do you know the cat? Is the cat seeking your attention? So it has all these odd and weird little feminist tropes packaged up as if it's a survival guide handed down from mother to daughter back in the 60s. It's an odd piece of work, but it is so right up our alley that I felt like we had to recommend it. There was just no way not to. It's written by Chelsea Kane, who did some great work with Mockingbird back in the day, which is one of our favorite recent titles, and then got herself in a little trouble with issues of queer representation in another book that she did. Probably didn't handle it real well, but I'm going to separate art from artist a little bit and say that you should pick up Handbook for the Revolution and just leave it on your coffee table. This is a good coffee table conversation starter. And the last book for grown-ups that we have is Bury the Lead. That is L-E-D-E is lead in newspaper speak. It is an original graphic novel, which means this was never collected as individual issues, written by Gabby Dunn. I'm going to be honest, I know almost nothing about this book. It's by Boom Studios. We like Boom Studios. I do not know Gabby Dunn. She's a New York Times best-selling author. I looked. But it is another detective story about a female reporter. It's an original story. They had enough faith in it to go straight to trade paperback and to make this, pricier than a normal comic book format. It's a story told for grown-ups. It's a mystery story. So I'm going to take a flyer, and I'm going to say, buy Bury the Lead. You're going to get a complete story in one issue. You don't have to worry about coming back, next month and remembering what day it's going to come out on or anything crazy like that. Pick it up. You got the whole thing, and we're done. All right. So that's what we have for adults. We have two things that I'm going to recommend for grown-ups. One is DC Secret Hero Society Field Trip Disaster. This is a series of original graphic novels that DC's been putting out for younger readers. It has Wonder Woman, Superman, and Bruce Wayne, Batman, as kids going to a school together. It's kind of outside the normal continuity because this never happened. But they're going to school together and they're doing superheroic missions. And this one is very Diana-focused. And it turns out that they are sent on a field trip, and it involves time travel and end up far in the future, and they're stuck in the future, and they're having to go to school, and they don't know anything. They're doing horribly in school in the future because science has advanced, history is not what they remember, and they don't, so they're trying to get back to their own time and then solve the mystery of why they're there in the first place. Flipping through it, I love the art. I love the idea that we're getting kids familiar with these characters and encouraging them to read comics. And it looks like they may meet up with the Legion of Superheroes. And that's, I know at least it's Ben, my local shop owner, is one of his favorites. I always had a soft spot for the Legion, too. There are people that just swear by them, and they are in this book. I can see. There's Saturn Girl right there. And, okay, I don't know who that is. But, at any rate, worth picking up if you got a young one. This is a book that could get them introduced to a bunch of different superheroes and introduce them to the concepts and the characters and encourage them to read. And again, it's a complete story, so you don't have to worry about picking up anything more to make that happen. And then last but not least, we're in October, so let's talk about Archie's Halloween Spectacular. Archie has been doing a lot of interesting stuff as a publishing company where they've been making adult, more contemporary versions of their characters. You may have seen the show Riverdale or the recent reboot of Archie, which was fantastic, done by Mark Waid and Fiona. I want to say Fiona Apple. Fiona, help me out. What Staples? Thank you, Fiona Staples, and Fiona Staples. But this is old school Archie. I'm not positive if this is a reprint. I suspect this is just stuff that they dug out of their vault. But if you ever read old school Archie comics when you were a kid, you had your mom pick those up for you when you were waiting in line at the grocery store. That's what you're going to get here. They're timeless stories. They're perfect for kids. There's an Archie story or two at the front, and then I flip to the back, and we got a Sabrina the Teenage Witch story, all done in that very classic Archie house style. I don't think you can go wrong with this. It is only $2.99, which is a buck or so cheaper than you normally would pay for a comic in the modern world. So there you go. 2 things for kids, 5 things for adults. Stop by your local comic book shop. Tell them Her Old Girl sent you. I appreciate you listening in. Bye.